So look back. So look back. What about?
that patrols this territory and launches missiles at military vehicles, fuel tankers, and even trucks carrying aid. Al-Ubaid has overcome the longest ground siege of Sudan's war and evaded capture by the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, fighting the military for territorial control. The RSF circle around the city has been halved by army advancements for now, but they still maintain positions to the west and the south and launch attacks from above. Their drones have come for this vital infrastructure, the power station transformers that supply Al-Ubaid with electricity. But even in the darkness of power outages, babies are born, and doctors are committed to performing the operations that are needed.
And you can watch Yusra's full report by scanning the QR code on the screen. It is well worth a watch. For a third consecutive year, the number of A-level students getting top grades has risen and remains higher than before the COVID pandemic. Hundreds of thousands of students in England, Wales and Northern Ireland have collected their A-level, T-level and BTEC results. Our education correspondent Anjum Pebakos has tonight's report.
1, 2, 3, go!
The results are in. Years of hard work, and for thousands of students, a decision about what comes next. We look beyond the grades, and these results reveal something about what young people think their futures should look like.
I got an A star in 3 A's.
Oh my goodness, that is fantastic! Oh, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations! Right, and your twin sister waits.
Yeah, my name's Ashley. I got 3 A's.
The proportion of students achieving the top grades has continued to rise over the last 3 years. But there's a significant change in the gender gap. Boys are outperforming girls at the highest grades. More girls are taking A-levels overall, but boys are now achieving more of the top grades, a striking shift from the pattern we've traditionally seen. But perhaps the biggest story is the growing popularity of STEM university courses, subjects such as science, technology.
Hi guys. Yeah, what you've just been hearing here is a whole load of rubbish. They could have had the diploma, they could have passed whatever, to go into now assisting these trillions in debt. And then these poor children had to pay like 70, 80 grand to pass this exam. And then they're going to have to pay for the exam now. And then now for them to find the job is where they've been told, they've been sold the lie. And you still have to pay back the 70, 80,000 pounds to pass your 3 exams and your diploma into a system that's trillions in debt. So now you're in debt to it because you paid 70 grand to learn that nonsense. And then where are they going to put you now? Into somewhere that's trillions in debt. And then you still have to pay off that nonsense. And whatever job they give you, they tax you on it. And you still got to pay them back. No matter what they do, they tax you. And you still got to pay them back. 70 grand. And you're excited about you pass some stupid exam that you paid so much money to pass. And then you got to pay it back. And who says you guaranteed a job? It's a joke now. You fell into that foolishness, darling.
Engineering and maths. Engineering and technology entries are over 272,000. That's up 14% since last year. But why?
The cost of living crisis could be part of the answer. For young people making decisions about their futures, there's a growing focus on job security and earning potential. A degree in engineering, technology, or
was, right, if they was giving you that when it didn't cost you no money, then that's different. But you're paying for that nonsense. You're paying a lot of money for that nonsense. Some sort of that money you'll never even see for your whole life.
Today I hear about the white community is pissed off at a white man for what he posted. I don't know who the white man is, but I'm like, let me go find out what is all the outrage about. And I'm gonna let you hear what the man said, and maybe you can tell me as a white citizen, or any other human, why would people be pissed off at him about this opinion?
I don't want to see one more white creator clutch their pearls or tell me how they're horrified or how they want to leave the country and how you're having a mental breakdown and how it's too much to handle about what's happening in this country. I don't want to hear a god thing about it. I truly don't. You got a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of an inch what it's like to be black in this country. Feels pretty doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Do you know why we're here? It's because our demographic, primarily white men who this land was designed to benefit, didn't stand up with people of color, with our black brothers and sisters, with the Native Americans,
Today I hear about the white community is pissed off at a white man for what he posted. I don't know who the white man is, but I'm like, let me go find out what is all the outrage about. And I'm gonna let you hear what the man said, and maybe you can tell me as a white citizen, or any other human, why would people be pissed off at him about this opinion?
I don't want to see one more white creator clutch their pearls or tell me how they're horrified or how they want to leave the country and how you're having a mental breakdown and how it's too much to handle about what's happening in this country. I don't want to hear a God thing about it. I truly don't. You got a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of an inch what it's like to be black in this country. Feels pretty doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Do you know why we're here? It's because our demographic, primarily white men who this land was designed to benefit, didn't stand up with people of color, with our black brothers and sisters, with the Native Americans, with minorities, because it didn't affect them. That's why we're here. There is the class war, eat the rich, yes. This is about the original sin of this country. Make America white again, because that's what they want. Last night I was on a live, and this lady was just heartbroken. She's like, I don't know, like we had, 75 years of progress, and it's all being taken away. And I asked a question, and I think it's the right question. Was it progress, or was it just suppressed? I would argue the latter, because it sure feels like this racism is like a reservoir, and it's a body of water behind a dam, and it's been dying to push out. And that's what this Klan leader is in the White House. He is that outlet for the dam. He unleashed it. It was there. Our neighbors, our friends, our family, they were always racist. He just said, hey, little Billy, hey, it's okay. Don't hide anymore. Take off your white hoods. Don't hide your face. Do it in public. Who are they going after? The racially profiling people. DEI, CRT, equality. Charlie Kirk, the white supremacist. Hey, if the pilot's black, do I know that they're qualified? Has he ever said that about a white pilot? Of course not. Who did they pick? The most unqualified, bumbling idiot. A convicted felon, caused an insurrection, cheats on his wives, sexual abuse. But hey, you know what? He's white. So when you see a lot of these evangelicals, because I see a lot of them in my family, middle-aged white, praise Jesus, praise Jesus. Yeah, you think Jesus wants a man like this? You think he's a great reflection? No. I'm going to tell you why they support him. Because they view, when you hear the phrase nuclear family or traditional family values or Christianation, when was this a Christianation again? I'm sorry, because I haven't heard one thing. It was founded by founding fathers that owned slaves. They owned goddamn black people like cattle. Yeah, praise Jesus, right? Black people were worth 3/5 of a person. Praise Jesus. Only 21-year-old white men had rights in this country. Praise Jesus. Such a Christian nation. Every atrocity in this country and across the world has been done by a person with religion who has weaponized religion to push the white supremacy. That's it. Look at the Catholic Church. How many young men have been affected? And none of you Catholics stood up. You still go to church and give your tithes while they pay out billions of dollars in civil lawsuits because it didn't affect you, so you don't give it. Look at the Baptist Church. Decades they covered up the mistreatment of women. It's gross. And you still went to church and praise Jesus. Look at all the pastors right now that are being arrested for doing inappropriate things with people underage. Praise Jesus, right? But then you hear Bishop Uday. Kindness, compassion, empathy. Nope, we don't want that. That's right, because you want to make America white again. You want Leave It to Beaver. You want a white kid in a white ice cream shop sitting next to a white cop being served by a white ice cream server. That's what you want. And for all of you middle-aged white people, you are scared to hell that that's going away. And when you hear Fox News, they have posted 244 pieces about trans people since February.
I seriously cannot let you go another day without this. Do you have any idea how gross unfiltered tap water can actually be? But with this, you literally just screw it right onto your faucet like this. It is going to instantly upgrade your home's water quality. You'll never have to worry about washing your fresh fruits and veggies again. And when the filter gets dirty, swapping it out is super easy and convenient. There is an awesome discount running right now, so do not miss out. Go place your order right this second. Look at this. If you install a filter like this on your faucet, who's going to spend thousands on a water purifier? It's easy to install and fits both large and small faucets. With a built-in 6-layer filter core, it effectively removes rust and sediment from your water, protecting your family's drinking water health. Its nozzle can also be rotated 360 degrees in any direction, making it super convenient for cleaning stains around the sink. The outlet also has an anti-splash design, so water won't splash on you when you're scrubbing pots or washing dishes. Order today and get an early bird 50% off plus free shipping. The link is in the bottom left. Go grab it.
Smartphone technician fired after showing customers the hidden kill switch buried in every software update. Now he's exposing it to everyone online. Why did security physically remove a presenter from the biggest smartphone expo in the country for showing people how to charge their phones faster? Last month, I watched Expo Security escort a small booth presenter off the floor in the middle of a product demo. His crime? Showing a room full of people how to make their phones work like new again without buying the latest model. And if you've been thinking about upgrading because your phone feels slow, the battery dies too fast, or apps keep freezing, what I'm about to share could save you over $1,500 this year alone. I've been going to tech expos for about 6 years now, as it's part of my job as a product reviewer. So last month, I attended one of the biggest smartphone expos in Vegas. Thousands of people, hundreds of booths, with all the major brands like Apple and Samsung taking up massive floor space pushing their newest models. However, as I was walking past the smaller vendor section, I noticed a crowd starting to form around this tiny booth in the back corner. People were pulling out their phones and holding them up to get a better view. That's rare at these expos, so I walked over to see what was going on. The guy running the booth wasn't some polished corporate presenter with a headset mic and a scripted pitch. He was just standing behind a folding table with a power strip and a small black device about the size of a phone charger plugged into the wall. He was holding up someone's phone and talking fast. "This phone is 3 years old," he said. "Battery dies in 2 hours. Apps take forever to load." The owner was about to upgrade because he thought it was done. He plugged the phone into his device. Watch what happens.
Nothing about gun violence.
Family, come in and bring your discernment, because tonight's file needs both hands. A white man is on every feed this week, and his own community is furious with him. Not because he lied, they say, but because of how far he went. He told his people to stop performing shock about this country, because they have a fraction of an idea what it is to be black in it. He said his demographic never stood up because none of it ever landed on them. And then he asked the question that set the comments on fire. All that progress we thought we made, was it progress or was it just suppressed? Racism, he said, is a reservoir behind a dam.
Actually going to be. Well, I think that the useful thing about Trump is that he can package the dismantling of American empire as the building of American empire. That's what he's doing. Because you have to sell to your demographic. And Americans are not the most mature, the most realistic, the most responsible people in the world, the most well acquainted with history and so forth. So you cannot possibly sell America's necessary downsizing and the managed erosion of America and the hollowing out of America. As you know, we've made a lot of bad choices for a very long time. We've only ever really made short-term plans for the future. So it turns out that there's a lot of unavoidable, necessary changes that have to be made at your expense. You can't really sell that to the American public. You can't tell the American public the consequences are a thing. That demographic of political consumers simply cannot compute a message like that. Because look, what Trump is going to do, what he is doing, and what he will do, these are all things that were going to happen anyway, with or without him. He's just the one who's selling it to you as a good thing. That's his job. You know, he's like the guy at a company who's designated as the one to deliver the bad news to you that you're going to be let go. And you designate him for that job because he has a way of presenting it to you. He has a way of presenting to you being fired as the greatest opportunity of your life, you know? All the new horizons that you're going to be able to pursue and so on. That's Trump. That's Trump's job. You know, America has been stuffing balloons up their sleeves for a very long time and telling everyone that they're muscles. But now even the balloons are deflating. The great American hoax is over. And Trump is there to oversee the dismembering of American empire. The US is going to be isolated, it's going to withdraw, and it's going to be non-competitive globally. Like I said, this is all unavoidable. This would have happened with or without Trump. You've simply come to the end of your life cycle as a hegemonic superpower. And the decay and the decomposition that will follow is just part of the natural process. Trump can't be blamed for that, and he can't be given credit for any of this. But his job is to make you think that none of it's happening, even while it's happening right in front of your face. This is what Trump's main job is. Because look, for example, drill, baby, drill, right? Make America energy self-sufficient, et cetera, fire up all of the dormant oil wells and so forth in West Texas and so on, while simultaneously asking OPEC to lower oil prices, which of course means asking OPEC to increase production. Okay. The way that goes is increase production by OPEC, and if they do it by the US as well, okay, then the oil price drops and cheap oil floods the market, out of sync with demand, driving the price down even further. Now the price is too low for it to even be profitable for American producers to drill, to refine, or to extract. Do you understand? American oil producers need for oil to be at a minimum of $40 per barrel for it to even be worth it. For it to even be worth it to drill and extract and refine and so forth. Meanwhile, OPEC can still make a profit at just $10 a barrel. So you understand, America cannot play the oil game with OPEC. OPEC has the capacity to ramp up oil production if they want to, anytime they want to. They can ramp up oil production, they can increase production to a level within just 90 days that America couldn't reach even in 5 years. In other words, OPEC can decimate the American oil and gas sector anytime they want. The only reason they don't do that is because they want to maintain price stability for their own benefit, for their own reasons. They would rather have oil at $70 a barrel or $100 a barrel rather than $10 a barrel. So they choose to allow America to stay in the game. That's the only reason. But if you're going to ramp up oil production on your end, well, then you better hope that OPEC responds by cutting production on their end just to stabilize the price. Because if they don't, if they respond in kind and they do what you do, and they also ramp up oil production, and then they drive the price of oil down to their minimum profit level, well, that will nuke America's whole oil industry. Plants, drilling sites, refineries, all of that's going to shut down. Tens of thousands of jobs will just disappear overnight. And for every one job in the oil and gas sector, there's at least 2 or 3 jobs that are indirectly related to that. So you were looking at potentially hundreds of thousands of jobs lost by drill, baby, drill. Not to mention, when that happens, no one in the private sector is going to invest in the oil sector anymore. So you see, no more exports to Europe, no more exports anywhere. No more oil exports, energy exports. Meanwhile, you're going to abandon renewable energy, clean energy, and so on. The Green New Scam, as Trump says, he's very much against that. And at the same time, you have the UAE and you have Saudi Arabia investing hundreds of billions of dollars in the U.S. In energy-intensive businesses in the United States. I mean, Trump said it himself. If oil companies drill themselves out of business, I don't give a damn. That's what he said. So you see how the rhetoric, how the marketing actually sells the opposite of what the policy outcome is actually going to be. I don't think for a second that Trump doesn't know that. I think he knows that. No one who's putting these policies in place doesn't know what the outcomes will be, and that's why the policies are being pursued, because they want to achieve those outcomes, those very outcomes. But you can't sell that to the electorate. You can't tell the American people, you know, we, your private sector overlords, are no longer tied to the success or the prosperity or the stability of the American economy. We have global interests, not national interests. And so we've decided to drive the U.S. into energy bankruptcy as quickly as possible. And maybe then we can sell all of America's oil and gas assets to Saudi Arabia or to China or what have you for pennies. You can't tell the American people that. So instead, you say, Trump says, we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill better, stronger, faster than anyone. We're going to produce more oil than anyone else in the world, and so on and so on and so on. We're number one, and everyone cheers. Everyone applauds while the oxygen is being drained from the room. Well, let me tell you, that's exactly what's going on. The last time Trump was in office, Saudi Arabia and Russia collaborated to flood the global oil market during COVID-19, no less. And the U.S., under Trump, the U.S., the media, portrayed this as a price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia. But it was transparently done. It was transparently undertaken by Russia and Saudi Arabia, specifically to undermine the American oil sector, the American oil industry. It completely crashed the oil price, making oil production completely unviable for the U.S., for U.S. producers, okay? Trump had good relations with Russia. He had good relations with Saudi Arabia, still does. And I think it's fair to say that this was a three-way collaboration, not just between Russia and Saudi Arabia. Trump was involved. And now Trump already wants to do it again within his first week in office. I don't think OPEC is going to go along with it, to be honest. Not right now. Why should they? You said drill, baby, drill, so you go ahead and do that. You go ahead. You drill. But we are not going to initiate a crash in the oil price. We need the money right now. We have projects. So you have to take Trump seriously, but never at his word. Never take him literally. But do take him seriously. Because he's a mascot for a faction of power that needs to be taken very seriously. The A-National OCGFC, owners and controllers of global financialized capital. They're essential.
Just that omelette, right, with this African bread here. Rasta. Boy. And like my mum saying, we can't really always keep eating meat for what's coming. So we have to try over to some other different healthy food. And this was whoa. Still had the seasoning on it still. Nice stuff. Crazy, yeah.
Actually, the real unipolar superpower of the world. And Trump is their hatchet man in America.
Excuse me, can I just say something to beautiful children? Did you know that Donald Trump works for us, didn't he? Do you know that? Trust me, you should know all about it. Donald Trump works for us.
Generally speaking, this is going to be very good for the Muslim world. Generally speaking, it's going to be good for the Muslim world.
Don't worry about the Muslim world at all. Don't worry about them. They've done so much to humanity. They was equal as well as white man has done to humanity. And they was put in the desert. Right, and if you follow the book will tell you, they come up with their own book. They wrote a book called Quran, written in some man's hand. Now that is a disrespect in the book. A disrespect. Why do you need to write another book when there's a book there already? Right? Why do you need to create and then call him Allah when there's no such thing as Allah? His name is Yahuwah. But just because he put you in the desert and you're living by the Torah law, which there's confusion over that still, because some live by it and some say you don't need to because you've got the Father. I mean, you got the Son. But I've never struggled with the Torah law, so even I'm confused on that.
From the global south more broadly, yes it is. But I know that things are going to get very hard for you in the U.S.
Very hard.
Things are going to get very hard for you in the West overall.
Very hard.
Now, most people around the world, in the global south, they'll react to that news the same way that someone would react to hearing about a serial killer getting shanked in prison. He had it coming. That's how most people feel, to be honest. But I know that most people in the West already have it hard. I know that most people in the West are actually already suffering. And I know what it's like to live in America. It's not easy. And I know that just because the consequences that you may suffer may be the result of your own actions, that doesn't make the consequences any easier to endure. I know it's going to be hard. Especially when you're suffering the consequences of actions that were taken by your elites, not necessarily the actions of the common people. So I know this is hard to take, and it's going to be hard to take. Now again, let me reiterate, this is not about Trump. It's not about Trump. The isolation, the degradation of America was going to happen anyway. It had to happen. This is just the necessary course of the logic of Western predatory capitalism. Just like Gorbachev wasn't really the one who destroyed the Soviet Union. He just oversaw the inevitable destruction, self-destruction of the Soviet Union because it had run its course. America has run its course. And when I say Western predatory capitalism, those adjectives are important because it's not even really about capitalism in and of itself. It really mostly has to do with the culture and the civilizational peculiarities of the West.
I know.
They don't act like that because of capitalism. Their capitalism acts like this because of the way they are.
Very true.
You understand?
Very true.
And in fact, it's because of the way they are, that they even approach capitalism, trade, and so forth, and business, the way they do.
Okay.
Their particular version of capitalism.
Okay.
And it's because of them, and because of the way they are, and because of their approach to capitalism, that the A National OCGFC even are a thing. And it's also because of this that their own societies are now on the chopping block. It's because of the way they are. But that's a topic for another day. The point is, this is something that has to happen. It's something that has to happen, it's something that had to happen, it's something that will happen, and it's going to happen, no matter what.
True.
No matter whether it's Trump or anyone else. Anyone who says, for example, well, that's what you get for voting for Trump, you know, or you should have voted for Harris. Well, I mean, you're so thoroughly indoctrinated and participating in the deception and the deflection of that system that you yourself are just as much a cause for the collapse of the United States as anyone else that you blame for it. You know, you created a class of A national elites, oligarchical elites. Private profit interests are no longer connected to your own economy. You did that. They're not connected to any productive activity. They're not connected to a nationality. They're not connected to your standard of living, not to your stability, not to your safety, your prosperity, your success as a nation or anything. And that class of private sector powers became essentially a nation unto themselves, like I've said many times. A nation that transcends borders, transcends national interests. They don't have any interests except their own interests. You created that, and you celebrated that. You still celebrate it. Never realizing that they would inevitably sacrifice you for their own profit interests, the same way that they've sacrificed millions of people outside your country. You know, you created this psychopathic class of predators.
You certainly did.
I normally never recommend stuff, so I almost didn't order this. Not because I didn't want it, because it looked like one of those things that's too good to be real. You know exactly what I mean. You see something online, everyone in the comments acts like they discovered some secret, the price looks weirdly low, and your brain immediately goes, yeah, right. I bought enough garbage online to know better. So I ignored it. Then it showed up again. Then again. Eventually I thought, okay, worst case.
And you expected them to never bite the hand that feeds them, even though the hand that feeds them has always been feeding them hands. You know?
Literally.
Now they can't tell the difference between the food and the feeder anymore. It's all just flesh to them. You can't raise a wolf on human flesh and expect him to distinguish between the human you are feeding him
and the wolf
from the human who is feeding him. Eventually, he doesn't see you as his master or his owner anymore. He only sees you as food.
True.
But you raise the wolf on the flesh of the global south, and it turns out
the flesh.
You taste just the same.
After the global
yes, wolves don't care.
You.
If it's dog meat or light meat, they'll chew you up either way.
Very true.
Look, for decades, the military-industrial complex, the MIC,
military is the next one.
In America, it was a towering giant in America, in the U.S. It was the driver of the economy.
That's what crippled the world.
It shaped policies at home and abroad. But today, there's a decline in its dominance. That's been coming for a while. It's no longer the sole engine of the American economy. It's no longer the most important engine of the economy or the global economy. Now, this change wasn't due to any great moral awakening or some newfound sense of conscience. No, it's the result of systemic shifts within the American economy, popular fatigue over endless wars, corruption and fraud within the military-industrial complex, and of course the rise of the A National OCGFC. The U.S. economy has diversified. I mean, decades ago, in the 50s, weapons and military technology was central for America's economic growth. But today, other industries, technology, finance, obviously healthcare and so on, it surpasses that. And of course, globalization shifted the focus from building tanks and jets to dominating digital platforms, international markets, and so on. Then came the end of the Cold War. The end of the Cold War was the big shift when the Soviet Union collapsed. You know, then the supposed existential threat that justified the immense military budgets and spending and so on, that disappeared. That threat disappeared. I mean, you tried to come up with new threats, terrorism, war on drugs, what have you, but none of these threats really could justify the scale of investment that was needed to keep the military-industrial complex, you know, influential. And like I said, the public became tired of wars in the 2000s. In Iraq, Afghanistan, drained the American public, emotionally, financially, politically, and people began to question the wisdom of pouring trillions and trillions of dollars into conflicts that only ever resulted in spreading chaos and destruction. Not to mention you have rampant fraud and corruption in the military-industrial complex. You have overcharging, you have magically disappearing funds, that were handed over to defense contractors. They've misplaced enough money. The military-industrial complex, defense contractors, have misplaced enough money to house every homeless person in America and educate every child. They charge so much for one weapon that China could probably build a dozen for the same price. I mean, if the military-industrial complex has been the vehicle that carried the American economy, well, it sure isn't a fuel-efficient vehicle. It's a gas guzzler. And of course, you can barely get anyone anymore. In America. Young people, what have you, who are willing to put on a uniform and fight for this money laundering scam. That's all it is. That's all it is at this point. I mean, you want to send your sons and your daughters to go die in a foreign country for Raytheon? That's what they're doing. They're not fighting for democracy. They're fighting for General Dynamics. Well, nobody wants to do that. How are you going to convince anyone that they're fighting for democracy 6,000 miles away from their own crumbling neighborhood in New York? And their neighborhood is crumbling because all of their tax money is going to Lockheed Martin. You can't convince people to fight for that. You can't. So then, because your pool of soldiers is shrinking, then you have to start changing your approach to killing and carnage. You have to start changing your means of destruction. Because you can't really do traditional warfare anymore. You have to develop new technologies.
So what you got now?
Which means that the demand for conventional weapon systems, which the military-industrial complex was based upon, that's given way to focus on drones and cyber capabilities and artificial intelligence and so on and so on and so on. So the MIC hasn't disappeared, but its form and its scale has changed. And part of that, too, is because America started moving manufacturing overseas, globalization and so on. And in order for the military-industrial complex to really maintain its importance, domestic manufacturing was key. Domestic manufacturing was key. But pretty soon, more and more companies were keeping their toothbrushes and their shampoo in somebody else's house. And you know what that means. America went from being the wife of corporations to being the side chick. See, again, because you had to change how you go about killing people, rather than learning how to get along with people. You had to come up with new technology, and that new technology depends upon electronics, which means rare earths. Well, we're talking about private corporations, talking about profit-driven corporations. So all they care about is money. All they care about is low-cost acquisition. And China flooded the market with cheap rare earths, which caused the market price to plummet. And that put rare earths mines out of business. You see how that works? Just like I was talking about with oil. So now China controls about 80% of the world's rare earths market and 90% of the processing. Think about that. The American military is completely dependent upon Chinese rare earths. You talk about confronting China, but they can shut you down in 3 seconds if they want to.
Exactly.
This is what I mean. You literally created this situation for yourselves, and it has nothing to do but play out now. It's inevitable course. It has to just play out. You gave private enterprise absolute autonomy, absolute supremacy, and that included sectors within the military-industrial complex. Your MIC-driven ideological obsession with the Soviets led you to engage with China, and then China opened up, and then you very quickly became dependent upon them, and they have surpassed you to a stunning degree in manufacturing and in technology.
Hearing all this, you little lying tramp. Hearing all this.
And you need drones because you don't have soldiers.
Of course you don't.
That's
why you need drones.
You've been doing nothing for decades now but cultivate your own demise. It's really quite poetic in a way. And in this whole process, like I said, your rich, your companies, your elites are increasingly untethered from your national interests. And now they're floating above the stratosphere, the stratosphere of global financialized capital, and they're looking down and they see America as just another landmass, just another population to be pillaged.
To be pillaged.
And so, as the MIC recedes, other factions have risen in prominence. At the forefront, of course, is Big Tech, which emerged from the military-industrial complex, companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, and so on. These aren't just businesses anymore. Those are oligarchical political powers. They dominate global markets. They shape cultures. They influence politics. They influence politics in ways that the MIC never could even have dreamt of. I mean, they control the flow of information. They control communication. They're gatekeepers of knowledge and power now. They're massive. And then there's, of course, financialization. This is very important. The financial sector not only shapes economic policy, but it exerts immense political influence as well. I mean, the 2008 financial crisis showed us that Wall Street is too big to fail. And since 2008, their grip has only expanded and tightened. I mean, even those tech giants, Google, Apple, and so on, a huge amount of their wealth is actually due to financialization, not sales, not ad revenues. It's through financialization. It's basically fake money. Then, of course, there's the healthcare and the pharmaceutical sectors. Big pharma, it's massive, and obviously incredibly influential politically, as we all saw during COVID. Okay, these are all a-national, along with things like construction and mining and so on, subcategories. And they're all corralled together. All of these diverse business interests, they're all corralled together in asset management firms like BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard. Those three companies constitute what you could call universal owners. They don't operate according to any one country's interests. They don't operate according to any one company's interests. They operate according to the combined interests of international economic sectors. They're the first seat in the OCGFC, the owners and controllers of global financialized capital. They're the controllers on behalf of the owners of capital. And they have the reach, and they have the portfolios, and they have the power to coordinate and to orchestrate economic planning across the globe on behalf of the vast array of investors. They control literally trillions of dollars, and they're connected to sovereign wealth funds around the world that gives them influence and access to trillions more. They dwarf the military-industrial complex in this regard, particularly since the primary source of money for the military-industrial complex is the American government, which is extremely constraining for them. That's very limiting for them. Asset management companies, they don't have that restriction. So yes, this is the faction that Trump represents.
Okay.
And you'll see that all of his policies serve that faction. I've said this before. You have to look past all of the MAGA rhetoric, all of the nationalist rhetoric.
That nonsense.
Because all of that is all just a camouflage for what will be the shrinkage
Of course it is.
of America on the global stage, and will be the ransacking of the U.S. economy. It's like if a snake oil salesman was selling cyanide instead of snake oil. That's what Trump is doing. Like, for example, okay, I've already talked about how his energy policy.
Did you have Trump? Not telling these was all they.
We're also withdrawing from the WHO. Okay,
Damn great-great-granddad. He should be having his grandchildren. Damn Trump.
And disapproval for what he did, for pulling out of the WHO.
Those stupid old men.
But who benefits from
That's
that?
why your grandchildren don't know nothing.
All of the
You're not
so-called
sitting down
emerging
talking
economies, emerging markets. And
we're trying to see if you can conquer the world in your own white way.
Their insurance
We only
and so
been here
forth.
1600
They're
years. They've
hindered
been
right
here
now by
long.
patent
Damn
protections, by regulatory
You've got
restrictions,
no manners. Don't know how to
policies
treat a
against,
woman.
especially
Don't
against
know how to make a
generic drug
bed.
production and so on.
Right?
India
Don't
and
know how
China,
to
for
cook
example,
food.
is very important
Don't
for
know how to
them.
run a
So this is
bar.
actually the sidelining of
Don't know how
America.
to wash your balls.
And of course, the same is true, of course,
You're a
obviously
joke,
with
man.
terrorism.
You're a joke.
You know, basically everything
You are a
everything
joke, man.
that Trump
You are a
proposes
joke.
or promises or wants to do, all of it amounts to shutting America off from the world and directing everybody elsewhere. You know, telling all business to go elsewhere. The only place he approaches with open hostility, you know, from a policy point of view, the only place he approaches with any hostility is Europe and other Western countries, other allies. I mean, they might be serious about trying to take control of the Panama Canal. They might be serious about that. But I think that mostly has to do with just confirming that America is only going to be interested in having influence in the Western Hemisphere, in the global North.
Just plug it in, press start, and you can make the most authentic Italian ice cream right at home. This absolute game changer of a machine transforms ordinary fresh milk and frozen fruit into fluffy, creamy, zero sugar, zero additive premium fruit ice cream in just a matter of seconds.
Make your mind up. One minute you want them, then that's
We're not going to seek them. We're not going to try to recruit them because they're black. In spite of the fact that they're qualified. In spite of the fact that they have a specialization, a skill set that is wildly needed to put this into action. And as I talked about in a previous video, the makeup of the military is just about 50.
Well, this is what I've been to, guys. You know, 1 minute they're talking about your benefits, and now they're saying they don't want you in their army, and now you're going to be like, oh, we've got drugs for you, bro. I ain't got time to listen today anyway.
I said, yeah, man, you know, I'm on that. I got 33 minutes. Hey, look, about you.
McHale was asked about his course. When police in San Antonio, Texas, responded to a welfare check at a high-end apartment complex, they encountered an unlikely and tragic scene. A single bullet hole shot through the front door of an apartment unit. The victim, 34-year-old Martel DeRuin, dead inside from a single gunshot to the head. The state of the apartment told the story of a heated argument, but the door was